Okay, so here's another look at the modeling toolkit. I know we were rushing just a little bit in class the other day, so I kind of want to go over it and go over some of these tools, which are, once you get used to it, they really make your workflow a lot faster. We're going to take a look at the bevel, the multi-cut, the bridge, the extrude, and maybe the target weld tool. So to start off, the modeling toolkit is found in this last icon right here that turns it on and off. In the modeling toolkit, there's some options. If you click on it, you can have it activate automatically. This is the same thing as this button. When you turn it on, it activates it. When you turn it off, it deactivates it. You can also have it auto activate whenever you want to use it. But for the most part, when you click on a tool, it'll work anyways. Okay. Under Edit, there's a couple of other tools that we will talk about another time. Under Object, you can also freeze an object, turn the X-ray on and off, show and hide an object. So there's a lot of different tools in here. You can move, you can select, you can rotate and scale. It replaces a lot of the other functions that you normally would find on the menu bar and the toolbar. Okay, so let's take a look at what some of these does. I'm going to go ahead and create a flat plane and scale it up. All right, put it up so you can see. I also turned on this button, which shows the shaded and the grid, the segments. So if I turn it off, you don't see the lines inside. I find it easier to model when I have them on. So that's turned on. Okay. So in the modeling toolkit, again, you're working with multi-component, or you can choose to work with one single component at a time. It's totally up to you. You also have several different tools here. This first one is the pick or selection tool. So with this tool selected, I can click on faces or edges and it'll select them. If I want multiple ones, I can hold the Shift key and click on what I need and it'll select them. If I use the drag tool, so Q brings you back to selection. If I use the drag, it's sort of like a paintbrush. You can paint over the selections that you want. So in this case, I want to select some faces going across, so I can drag across, left mouse click and drag. Now I have these faces selected. Okay. If I need to add to the selection, hold down the Shift key, click and drag up, and then release the Shift key, and you can add more selection to it. And if at some time I want to change the selection from faces to vertex, hold down the Control and click, and it'll not Control, is it Command? Yeah, on my Mac is Command. I'm pretty sure on the PC it's a Control. It'll change the selection from faces to vertex or to edges. Okay, if I switch it to the Move tool, I can have the selected portions moved. I can also rotate them and finally scale them. Okay, so that's what some of these tools up there will do. So I'm going to go back to the regular pick marquee. I'm going to delete this object and start looking at some of the other functions of the modeling toolkit. So we're going to start with a box. I'm just going to basically show you what it does. I'm going to make this a little longer. And I'm going to take a look at the multi-cut tool. So I'm going to turn on multi-components. And the multi-cut tool replaces the insert edge loop tool, which is found here. It also replaces the cut faces tool. There's another one that it replaces. Some of the cutting tools like add divisions to faces, so it's like a Cadillac of the cutting tools. Okay, so I'm going to click multi-cut, and on each of these functions they have a lot of different options that you can do. You can also shift and control and right click. You can get to some of those functions that you need, and you can also reset the settings. Okay, so the snap step can also be changed, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 30 and I'll show you what it does. Simply by clicking, holding the shift and click, it'll give you a cut directly in the center of the object. So if I click here, shift click, I have to make sure I finish up that cut by hitting enter. If I hit shift and click, it'll be 50% of this space. Alright. The snap step works like this. If I hold down shift and control and click, it snaps to 30% of the space in between. So this is about 30%. Alright. If I change this to, we'll do a small one, to 10%, hold down shift and control, it'll snap to 10% of the space in between. Alright. You can also cut this way by running, so if I hold down just the control key, it acts like an insert edge loop, so I can insert various edge loops across my object. Okay, very functional, very useful, I find. Okay, the bevel tool will bevel the edges for you and does a lot more, and it's non-destructive compared to the regular bevel tool that you found in the menu. So I'm going to again select the edges. I'm going to select this edge, hold down the shift key, select these 4 edges. I'm going to have it bevel. Okay, hold down shift and control, right click. You can get to a lot of these functions, or I need more segments, I can go to segments, middle mouse click, and I get more segments in here. If I need to do any offset, I can middle mouse click and offset the bevel, like so. Alright, so instead of going to here to access the tools, you can shift and control and right mouse click, and you can get a lot of the other controls right here. Okay, Q is to go back to selection tool, so you can do something new. And at this time I'm going to select the face, and I'm going to take a look at the extrude tool. So if I hit extrude, it will extrude to the previous value that I've used. So I was playing with it for, just now, so the extrusion was this much. Again, holding down shift and control and right click, you can reset the settings. Alright, and then middle mouse click, I can extrude whatever I want. If I want to do an extra extrusion, hold down shift and click, middle mouse click and drag, I have another extrusion. So again, shift, left click, middle mouse click and drag, I have another extrusion. If I need to have more segments, shift control, right click, divisions, and I can select and add more divisions to the last extrusion. Okay, so Q brings me back to the selection tool. I'm going to take this face and I'm going to extrude it, and I'll show you how to offset. So I'm going to reset that since extruded the last function I did. So shift control right click, reset, shift control right click, I'm going to choose offset. Alright, and I'm just going to click in here and drag to my right. That gives it an offset, and if I need to extrude this section out, shift click, middle mouse click, I'm still on offset, so I need to change it back to local Z. Alright, and then shift click, and I can extrude that out. Alright, so okay, here's the extrude tool again. I was in the middle of working on a video and I was interrupted, so I'm going to go ahead and try again. Make sure you have the selection tool selected so you can pick your object. So I'm going to select this face and I'm going to choose extrude right there. Now, the reason it was extruded automatically is because I performed an extrusion just a few minutes ago, so it recorded the last action and repeats it. Okay, so if I need more divisions, I can click here and give it more divisions. If I need to offset it, middle mouse click. If I need to offset it, I can do this. Okay, but there's a much faster way by holding the shift control right click, and you can get to all those tools also, including reset the settings. Alright, to add an extrusion to this part, you're going to hit shift, hold down shift, left click, middle mouse click, and well, I was on offset, so Shift Control, make sure I go back to local Z, which extrudes it out, and then Shift click, and now I can extrude it out. Alright, so if I want to offset this and then extrude it from the offset, the first thing I have to do is Shift click to perform an extrusion. Alright, and then go back to my offset, then mouse click and drag to my right. As you can see, I'm offsetting that surface that I extruded. So you need to extrude first before you offset. If not, it tapers in. And I'll show you how that works in a few minutes. So in order for me to pull this out, I'm going to go back to local Z. And again, I'm holding down Shift and Control and right mouse clicking and dragging to the marking menu. And then drag that out. And you can see that because I didn't perform a second extrusion, it drags it out just like that. Okay? Now if I want to drag it out straight, okay, I'm going to go back to local Z, Shift click to extrude, so I perform an extrusion, go back to offset, then a mouse click and drag to the right, okay, and before I change to local Z, alright, before I extrude again, I'm going to Shift click, and this time I extrude, I get something like this instead of that. Alright, so let me repeat. If you want a tapered extrusion like this with an offset, right, you are going to first change the function to offset, Shift click to perform the extrusion, middle mouse click and drag it in, right, and if I go back to local Z without doing a second extrusion and I middle mouse click and drag, I get a tapered look. Right? If I want the extrusion to come out straight from the offset, I need to first Shift click to perform the extrusion, go to the offset, that middle mouse click and drag to my right to perform the offset, Shift click to perform the extrusion, and then go to divisions. I'm sorry, not divisions, local Z, and then I can pull it out just like that. Alright, it's very, very useful and pretty intuitive and easy to use rather than using the one up here. And also, like I talked to you before, the Keep Faces now is found in the Modeling Toolkit, so you kind of have to use it from here. In the older version of mine, it's found up here somewhere in one of these tools. So let me show you how that works. So what if I'm making some fingers and I need to extrude the fingers, okay? So pressing Q will bring it back to the selection mode. So let's say these are 3 fingers that I want to extrude. Oops, not that. Make sure I don't select the wrong thing. Select the faces. And I'm going to go to extrude. Alright, it repeats the last extrusion, so I'm going to reset the settings. Okay, and then I'm going to middle mouse click and drag. And you can see that even if I do an offset, right, it'll do this. Okay, but what if I want the fingers to separate? Alright, so what I have to do is I'm going to undo the last function, but this time before I extrude, I'm going to turn off Keep Faces Together. Okay, and when I extrude it out, go back to local Z. When I extrude that out, it doesn't look like it did anything, but if I change it to offset, you can see that now I can offset the pieces separately. So that's what Keep Faces Together, and sometimes it's very helpful if you need the extrusion to be separated instead of a single piece. Okay, let's see. That's about all. Oh, the bridge tool. Let's talk about the bridge tool. I'm gonna go ahead and move this object over. Is my modeling toolkit on? The move tool has disappeared. Interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and model center pivot. My move tool has disappeared from my object. Sometimes on the Mac I get some of these display glitches which drives me crazy. We'll go ahead and delete that. Okay, let's look at the bridge tool. Alright, So I'm going to make it wider. And I'm going to take the multi-cut tool and holding control, I'm going to cut some edge loops in here. And hit enter to perform the cut. Okay. I'm going to choose and Q to go back to selection. I'm going to choose this face and this face, and I'm going to perform an extrusion. Again, I'm going to reset it and then just perform the extrusion. Okay. And I'm going to repeat that one more time. So shift click, drag up. Now, if I want to connect these two parts, it's like a bridge, connect this face with that face. That's what we use the bridge tool for. So I'm going to press Q to go back to selection mode, select this face, and shift click to select. Sometimes it's a little tricky the way you angle, so make sure you have the face selected, and also shift to select this face. And I'm going to choose bridge. Alright, you can see that this is a linear bridge. It bridges straight across. Now, I can also go to the options and I can add the number of divisions, which is also found in the tools right here. But holding the shift and control and right click, you can get to the options very quickly. Middle mouse click and I can add some divisions. Alright, what if I want a curve? It also has options for you to bridge into a curve instead. So I'm going to press Q to drop the tool, and I'm going to reselect my faces if I can. Make sure I have my. I'm going to select this face and this face. I'm going to extrude them up. Then I'm going to reset this. I'm going to make them really tall. Alright. And I want to join them with a curve. So I'm going to take these two faces and I'm going to bridge. Alright. As you notice, a linear bridge, even with 3 divisions, will give you a flat surface and it looks really strange. By holding the shift control right click, I can change the curve type to a blend. And I'm just right clicking and choosing the marking menu to a blend. Immediately you can see that now it's turned to a curve. And if I right click and go to the number of divisions, I can middle mouse click and increase the number of divisions in here. I can also choose to twist the extrusion like so, and also to taper it. Alright, all these tools are found right here except for the curve types. You're going to have to access it from using the marking menu. So that's the bridge tool, and hopefully you guys will get to learn how to use this, which will make your workflow a little faster. I'm liking this a lot more than I used to. So the next video I'm going to show you how to set up your house and set up the project in order to start your creative project too.